Hello, I'm Mieke Uyttendaele from Ghent University. Changes in our food system and eating habits influence food safety. Today I'll explain how we define and identify emerging risks, share examples and discuss how we manage them. EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority, defines an emerging risk as a risk from a newly identified hazard, such as a foodborne pathogen, or increased exposure or susceptibility to a known hazard. Emerging risks are well known in relationship to climate change. Global warming leads to increased prevalence and thus exposure to pathogenic Vibrio species in seafood due to warming waters. Many studies examine how climate change affects the distribution of pathogens. In a review by Awad and colleagues, Figure 1 shows the predicted impact of extreme weather events and global warming on various pathogens. Significant effects are expected for well-known foodborne pathogens, such as Campylobacter and Salmonella, as well as for foodborne parasites. Knowing this, we can adapt our agriculture production practices. By adapting food safety management to climate-driven risks, we can strengthen resilience. Examples include improving water treatment, shifting towards more controlled agriculture production systems, and enhancing pathogen monitoring in case of extreme weather events. Dietary shifts can also introduce emerging risks. Today, a wide range of plant-based dairy alternatives are entering the market, driven by sustainability concerns and health trends. They are often assumed safe, yet outbreaks and recalls challenge this perception. These products combine diverse raw materials and complex processes, requiring strict microbial control across the supply chain. Identifying emerging risks requires effective monitoring of foodborne pathogens, both their prevalence in foods and the incidence of cases and outbreaks. Both food safety authorities and food business operators play a role in data collection. Food business operators must withdraw unsafe food, warn consumers and recall products if necessary. Data from recalls, outbreaks and pathogen surveillance can reveal emerging or re-emerging hazards and new transmission routes. EFSA, together with the European Centre for Disease Control, publishes an annual report on foodborne illnesses, outbreaks and the prevalence of zoonotic agents, pathogens transmitted from animals to humans via food, in food, feed and livestock. The report highlights key findings and trends. Interactive dashboards on EFSA's website allow you to explore data and learn more about trends on specific pathogens or foods. This figure shows you the main actors in the EU responsible for monitoring contamination and trends in foodborne illnesses and outbreaks. EFSA and ECDC provide scientific advice, collect data, monitor and report, and strengthen public health surveillance across the EU. They also collaborate globally to manage international outbreaks and identify emerging risks. The European Commission sets food safety policy, establishes microbiological criteria, and operates the Rapid Alert System for food and feed to issue notifications when unsafe products are detected. This figure shows a snapshot from that Rapid Alert System for food and feed, taken at the end of 2025, highlighting some alerts on foodborne pathogens. Notification from several EU member states reported Salmonella, pathogenic E. coli and Listeria monocytogenes in various foods, including meat products, bivalve mollusks and dairy. The Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed serves as a database, and trend analysis can reveal emerging food pathogen combinations. Some pathogens are not included in standard monitoring programs, which focus on well-known pathogens and high-risk food categories. Identifying emerging risks requires a proactive approach. This is where horizon scanning helps. By anticipating trends, opportunities and threats, issues can be addressed early. Horizon scanning gathers information on food production trends and incidents likely to impact food safety. Using AI tools, expert consultation and continuous review of scientific publications and project outcomes. Chagas disease has been recognized as an emerging risk by EFSA. It is a parasitic illness caused by Trypanosoma cruzi, primarily transmitted by so-called kissing bugs in Latin America. Although vector transmission is most common, Chagas disease can also be foodborne, when food or drinks are contaminated by the bugs. Outbreaks have been linked to juices, such as acai and sugarcane. Monitoring its potential spread in Europe is essential. Another protozoan parasite not included in mandatory monitoring programs is Toxoplasma. While commonly associated with cats, people can also become infected by eating raw or undercooked meat, or unwashed fruits and vegetables, contaminated with the parasite. Toxoplasma poses a serious risk to pregnant women and immunocompromised individuals, which is why they are advised to avoid raw or undercooked foods. A research project found about 4% contamination in ready-to-eat mixed leaf salads. EFSA's emerging risk group concluded that more data are needed and suggested considering Toxoplasma in Europeans' foodborne monitoring programs. A final example of an emerging risk discussed by EFSA's Emerging Risks Exchange Network is the bacterium Burkholderia gladioli, which can produce a potent toxin called boncrecic acid. Previous outbreaks occurred mainly in Southeast Asia, linked to rice noodles and other fermented foods. But in 2025, a fatal case was also reported in North America, associated with fermented cornmeal pudding, showing that this risk is no longer geographically confined. With growing interest in home fermentation and traditional fermented plant-based foods, this issue requires increased attention in Europe. Changes in the food system can affect food safety. A food system covers the entire journey of food, from farm to fork, and represents a complex network of actors and resources involved in food-related activities. While our food system feeds people worldwide, it also places increasing pressure on nature, climate and society. To stay within planetary boundaries and ensure access to healthy, fair food for all, change is essential. However, these changes may also create opportunities for emerging risks. This was also the topic of the EU Horizon project Food Safer. Global food systems are increasingly affected by climate change, resource scarcity and urbanization. International organizations such as FAO call for urgent action to build sustainable and resilient food production systems. Approaches like regenerative agriculture, focused on restoring soil health, biodiversity and ecosystem services, are gaining attention, along with valorization of byproducts in circular economies and promotion of short supply chains. However, when redesigning food systems for sustainability, food safety must not be overlooked. New practices and supply chains can introduce emerging risks that require proactive monitoring and management. Within the EU Food Safer project, we explored potential emerging risks from novel and often lightly regulated alternative food networks. This included urban aquaculture systems, consumer interest in spontaneously fermented vegetables, and alternative food distribution models. One example is last-mile food delivery. Online ordering of freshly prepared meals via apps like Deliveroo or Uber Eats, when the food is delivered then quickly to customers. In 2024, about 21% of EU internet users used these services, mainly in urban areas where fast delivery is expected. Ensuring food safety during transport, keeping meals hot or fresh, and preventing contamination is critical. To address these concerns, we conducted a survey on the microbiological quality, hygiene, and safety of poke bowls, ready-to-eat multi-ingredient salad bowls that we ordered online and were delivered via last-mile services. We analyzed contamination levels for various microbial indicators. Overall, the microbial quality was satisfactory, as indicated in green. Occasionally, E. coli, Bacillus cereus, or Listeria monocytogenes were detected, but at low colony-forming unit counts, as indicated in orange, suggesting that hygiene during preparation and transport needs attention. No salmonella or unacceptable levels of other pathogens were found. No results in red, indicating that, based on this exploratory survey, last-mile delivered food does not present an emerging risk. Short delivery times in urban areas appear beneficial in limiting microbial growth during transport. When selling or advertising food online, last-mile delivery couriers must follow good hygienic practices. During transport and storage, temperatures within the danger zone, 5 to 60 degrees, should be avoided. In our survey, most meals arrived at 10 to 20 degrees for cold dishes and 20 to 45 degrees for hot dishes, which was expected since they were prepared and dispatched immediately. Short periods outside this strict temperature control are permitted if they do not increase health risks. In this study, occasional detections of E. coli, Bacillus cereus, and Listeria monocytogenes remained at low levels and did not render the food unsafe. Quick delivery times, around 35 minutes, and route optimization in urban areas are essential to maintain safety in last-mile food delivery. This survey highlights the importance of how customers handle online food deliveries. Meals like poke bowls or mixed hot and cold dishes are intended for immediate consumption. These perishable items should not be kept at room temperature for long periods. If not eaten within 2 hours after preparation and delivery, they should be refrigerated. This highlights the need for awareness and knowledge about kitchen hygiene and proper food handling by consumers. Nearly 30% of foodborne outbreaks occur in households, yet food safety literacy is declining. Research shows many people believe myths, such as marinades kill bacteria or vegetarians don't get food poisoning. These misconceptions can compromise food safety and increase the risk of illness. Effective microbial food safety risk governance requires consistent, standardized collection of technical data for pathogen risk assessment. But also should consider social dimensions, such as stakeholder interests and concerns. Understanding risk perception and worries about foodborne pathogens by consumers supports better risk communication and helps to correct food safety myths. At Ghent University, we invest in interdisciplinary research that combines expertise in microbial food safety, consumer behavior, risk analysis, and psychology to improve communication and build consumer trust. Dealing with emerging risks means recognizing that pathogen-free food and zero risk do not exist. Acknowledging this reality allows us to act through preventive and control measures. Investing in education and campaigns on proper food handling strengthens food safety literacy and helps reduce risks across the food chain. But dealing with emerging risks also requires preparedness, information sharing, collaboration among stakeholders, and investment in research and innovative tools to detect and manage these risks. The real challenge is not only identifying emerging risks, but ensuring we have the systems and partnerships in place to act before they become crises. Within the EU Horizon Food Safer project, we developed various case studies to explore and gather insights on potential emerging risks in novel and alternative food networks. You can read more about this work in a special issue of the International Journal of Food Microbiology. That's the end of our exploration into emerging risks. I hope you now understand why food safety is never done and why staying alert matters. Science, monitoring and teamwork keep our food safe, but you play a role too. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me by email.